Welcome to CET Health. Today I'll be explaining the topic of oogenesis. In one of my in the previous video, I had explained the topic of spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis is actually the production of male gametes, which is sperms, in human body. Now, I had also explained in brief what is oogenesis. So, oogenesis is the production of female gametes, uh, which is known as ovum. So, this is an overview. In the board, I have drawn an overview of how the process of oogenesis takes place. I will be getting into detail about each of the process and explaining how it takes place. So, here see the time of the development of the oogonia, which takes place gradually and undergoes multiple differentiation and divisions to finally form the ovum, which is the mature female gamete ready for reproductive process or the process of reproduction. In brief, we will go through this chart first. So, oogonia or oogonium actually develops in the female body during the fetal period or the time when the baby is in the womb. So, during the fetal life, the oogonia, a couple million gametes of oogonia get developed in the ovaries of the female body. These undergo mitotical divisions to form the couple million gamete cells which are present in the ovaries, and gradually, during the development of the female body in the womb, many of the gamete cells degenerate. So what happens? All of these cells form a couple million and some of them degenerate during the time the baby is in the womb. Gradually at birth, only 60K to 80K, that is 60,000 something gamete cells are present in the ovaries of the baby. Now, the part which I have denoted in red, this is the part where the complete maturation of the female gamete cells happens. So this starts at puberty. At puberty, one of these oogonium will undergo differentiation to form a primary oocyte. This primary oocyte will undergo the first meiotic division uh, in the ovaries of the ovaries, and it will form the secondary oocyte. This is a very brief overview I'm giving you. There is a lot of process takes place in within the ovary for the development of the primary oocyte into the secondary oocyte, and also the secondary oocyte to finally undergo the second meiotic division to form the ovum. So this is a very detailed process which I will be going through. I hope this is very clear. I hope the diagram is clear, and you have to remember the main point here, that is the development of the oogonia or the oogonium cells within the ovary during the fetal life of a of the baby. Okay. So, like I said, oogenesis is initiated during the fetal life or when the baby is in the womb of the mother at that stage. So what happens here in detail is the first I'm explaining the first section of oogenesis, that is from the fetal life at birth to the development of the primary oocyte into a follicle, which will lead to the first meiotic division of the oogenesis. Okay, so that part I'm explaining. Here what happens is at birth the primary oocyte is surrounded by multiple cells called the granulosa cells. Okay, these cells uh, completely cover the primary oocyte, and it leads to a structure which is called a primary follicle. Okay. Now further as we proceed, the granulosa cells, more number of granulosa cells cover the second primary follicle till they form a layer which is an external, it is a theca. It is a clear structure or a clear outlining which covers the primary follicle, and it is called a secondary follicle. Gradually, this also develops, it differentiates to form the tertiary follicle, which contains the primary oocyte along with a fluid-filled cavity. It is called the antrum. The tertiary follicle provides for the maturation and differentiation of the primary oocyte. The primary oocyte will be growing through these stages from the primary follicle to the secondary, from secondary follicle to the tertiary follicle, and it will grow into a mature female gamete, which then will undergo the first meiotic division. Thus, the first meiotic division will occur after the formation of the tertiary follicle, and this will lead to an unequal division. The first meiotic division is an unequal division, that is, the primary oocyte will divide into an unequal two parts. This is the first polar body, which is not important for the reproduction process. This bigger part or the larger cell which is formed out of the primary oocyte is called the secondary oocyte. I hope this is clear. We will now get on to the further part of the oogenesis. Now, further, I explained that the primary oocyte will go the first meiotic division, and it will form the secondary oocyte. Okay, and it is an unequal division. Thus, it will lead to the formation of a first polar body. Okay. Now, a thing to notice here is the primary oocyte is a diploid cell. Okay. So the ploidity of the primary oocyte is 2n. After undergoing the first meiotic division, it will become the secondary oocyte, which has the ploidity of n. Secondary oocyte is a haploid cell as it undergoes the meiotic division. Further, the tertiary follicle, which forms the secondary oocyte, it will further develop to form a Graafian follicle. The tertiary follicle will mature, it will form the Graafian follicle. In the Graafian follicle, what happens is the secondary oocyte will form a membrane, a thin membrane, it which is known as the zona pellucida. I've shown it here using a blue marker. The secondary oocyte will form a thin membrane called the zona pellucida. Once the zona pellucida is formed and the secondary oocyte is ready for the release, it will lead to the rupture of the Graafian follicle, and the secondary oocyte is released from the Graafian follicle and uh, it comes out from the Graafian follicle. This release of the secondary oocyte from the Graafian follicle is called as ovulation. So, the process of release of the secondary oocyte from the Graafian follicle is called as ovulation. Now, further ahead, the secondary oocyte will undergo the second meiotic division and it will form the final mature female gamete, which is called as the ovum. The second meiotic division is also an unequal division, as you can see clearly here. It also leads to an unequal division forming a small, tiny second polar body, just like the first polar body, and the ovum, which contains uh, con most of the components and the qualities of the secondary oocyte. And this is the final female gamete, which has the ploidity of N. I hope the process of oogenesis is clear. If you have any doubts, please ask them in the comment section or you can join the WhatsApp group.